Methylisothiazolinone. Methylisothiazolinone.
Methylisothiazolinone.
Hey guys, it's Stacie, and today is finally the day that I'm going to sit down and share my MI allergy dyshidrotic hand eczema story. This video is a long time coming, and back in the day when I first discovered my hand eczema, I wish that I could have gone onto YouTube and searched for someone who was going through the same thing I was. But unfortunately that wasn't the case, and I suffered many years with this hand eczema without knowing what the cause was. So just to give you a little background information on my allergy history, I do have the trifecta of allergies, which is asthma, allergies, and eczema. I was diagnosed with asthma when I was a child, and now it's pretty well controlled. I don't take any daily medication anymore for my asthma. I just have my rescue inhaler, and I rarely feel any tightness in my chest or asthma symptoms. The only time I do is when there are wildfires in my area. I live in Southern California, and unfortunately there's wildfires, and when there's smoke in the air, sometimes I can feel my asthma. And I think a big part of the reason why my asthma has been good and I haven't had any bad asthma attacks, because I did have bad asthma attacks when I was younger, is because I've been doing allergy shots. I've been doing allergy shots for, over 12 years, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. If you want me to do a whole separate video on my allergy shot experience, let me know in the comments, because I can do that. My allergy shots have really helped my environmental allergies. I have a slew of environmental allergies. I'm allergic to grass, pollen, trees, dust. I'm very allergic to cats. And the allergy shots have really helped with that, and my environmental allergies are all but gone, because I was consistent and I was dedicated to doing the shots. The thing is that the allergy shots didn't help my eczema at all. When I was a kid, sometimes I would get that kind of eczema that would be inside of your elbow or in the back of your knee, on your arms or legs. And while that's itchy and annoying and no fun at all, the type of eczema I get on my hands is a different chronic type of eczema called dyshidrotic eczema. And my first recollection of ever seeing a flare-up on my hand was back in 2002, and I remember the day vividly. It was after college. I had never seen this on my hands before, and I was at work, and I looked down at my hands, and I saw these strange, what they look like as circular bubbles on the palms of my hands. And when I first looked at it, I had never seen anything like it before. I've had, like I said, regular atopic dermatitis, rashes. It looked like a really strange rash. And at first I thought, well, maybe it's a heat rash, because I lived and worked in the San Fernando Valley, which is a suburb of Los Angeles in Southern California. It could get very hot. It was during the summer, well over 100 degrees. So I thought that perhaps it was some sort of heat rash. And so, when I went home, I just put some hand lotion on it, tried to keep it moisturized. And as the flare-up got worse, the bubbles would get bigger, they would spread, and this happens mostly on the palms of my hands. Sometimes it goes on the outside of my fingers, but mostly just the palms of my hands. So I thought that was odd, and I thought maybe it was just from sweating too much, the heat. So once it went through the first healing phase, which what happens with the healing phase is that the bubbles dry out, they crack, sometimes the skin can bleed, and then the skin peels. And right now I'm currently in a flare-up and I'm in the healing phase. So I'm gonna try to focus on my hands here. Okay, as you can see, it's in the healing phase, so it's dried up. There we go. So after the bubble phase, it dries out and the skin becomes really dry, and in very bad flare-ups, it can even crack and bleed. But mostly it's always been on the palms of my hands. There was one instance where it was on another part of my body, and I'll get into that later. But after the bubbles form, then it starts to dry out. And then once it dries out, it becomes, you know, really peely skin. And sometimes it can be so bad the skin fissures, cracks, and bleeds. And then once that finally heals up, I would say the whole process can take about, from the first sign of the little bubbles on my hands to completely healed, probably 3 to 4 weeks, the whole process. So over the years, since 2002, I was having these cycles of the dyshidrotic eczema over and over again. There would be flare-ups, it would dry out, crack, heal, and then the process would start again. Sometimes I would only have a day or two of good hands, you know, and before I would see the little bubbles again. And so, of course, I was frantically trying to research what this was, and I found out that it was dyshidrotic hand eczema. And back then, there was really little information about, you know, the causes, and, you know, and actually back then, there was really nothing about the correlation between this sort of hand eczema and MI. So I basically suffered with this hand eczema for many, many years. Sometimes the flare-ups would be worse than others. Sometimes it would be pretty mild. Sometimes it would be extremely painful and bad. It would be so bad that I couldn't even drive without pain. I would have to wear gloves on my hands to drive. And I remember being so embarrassed that I was driving with gloves, and I thought that people were looking at me weird, but it was so painful to use the steering wheel because of my hand eczema. And it was also very painful just to do normal things. Getting my hands wet would be very painful. So anything from, you know, washing your hands after you go to the bathroom, doing the dishes, and then it would be extremely painful when I would take a shower or try to wash my hair. And, you know, of course I could put rubber gloves on when I'm doing the dishes. I tried to limit, you know, washing my hands. At first I thought maybe it was because I was washing my hands too much. So I cut back on washing my hands that much, and that didn't help. I was still getting flare-ups. So this really took a toll on me, and I was just embarrassed, especially during a breakout. You know, I didn't want anyone to see my hands because I thought they would think I would have some like contagious disease. And just to be clear, this is not contagious at all. But for me, it just caused a lot of stress and anxiety over the years, and I had no answers. So the first time, you know, I had the breakout, I went to the doctor. At the time, I had Kaiser medical insurance. So I went to Kaiser to see a doctor, and they referred me to a dermatologist. I went to the dermatologist, and they prescribed a couple of creams and ointments to try on my hands. And so I tried them, and they didn't work. Nothing worked. So I felt discouraged, and then years went by and I was still suffering. When I finally had better insurance, I went to another dermatologist and they prescribed more creams and ointments. They also gave me a cortisone shot because I was having a major flare-up. And then they also gave me Protopic, which was a ointment. And I started using it, and there was some speculation that it could cause cancer. I think that's been debunked since then, but nevertheless, it didn't help my eczema at all. So I discontinued use of that because I just didn't see any effects on my eczema. From there, I, researched other doctors, and I actually went to a hand specialist because I thought perhaps, I was desperate, and I had already gone to numerous dermatologists without any. And the thing is, when I went to the dermatologist years back, they really didn't know a lot about this type of eczema. So I went to the hand doctor, and the hand doctor really didn't know about this type of hand eczema. He did other tests on my hands, and he actually diagnosed me with carpal tunnel syndrome, which I think is... thinking about it, it might be related just because I had so much trauma to my hands over the years from the repeated flare-ups and healing, and it just damage to my hands in general. Plus, I've used my hands at jobs and typing over the years. So perhaps it's not related, but nevertheless, I do have carpal tunnel in my hands as well. And also, I went to allergists over the years, and I had a slew of allergy tests. And when the allergy test came back, was always environmental allergies. I was allergic to cats pretty severely. I had no food allergies when I was tested. I had 2 allergists actually 3 allergists over the years. The first allergist, when I was a child, diagnosed me with asthma, and then I had another allergist where I started allergy shots with many years ago. He retired, and then I moved on to another allergist. So I, repeatedly when I go in there, they'd ask me, "Oh, how's the hand eczema doing?" I said, same thing, flaring up, not getting better. Finally, in 2013, this is, my first flare-up was in 2002. So you could see how much time went by and how much damage my hands had went through and how much trauma and stress I went through. Finally, my allergist suggested that I do patch allergy testing. And I had never done that. I've only done the traditional allergy testing where they, poke your back with put numerous small amounts of the allergen to see the reactions. And I had done that like maybe 2 or 3 times over my lifetime, but I've never had patch allergy testing. So of course I was willing to do anything to find answers. So I went ahead and did the patch allergy testing, which was, pretty annoying, but well worth it when I look back in hindsight because I finally got answers. And so they actually put the patches on your back, and with a small amount of different allergens, and they're different allergens than the environmental allergens. So it's a lot of preservatives, metals, fragrances, different things that are not normally tested in the regular allergy screening. You can't get it wet, or you have to wash around, take a bath and wash around the patches for a couple days, and then you go back and they see the reaction. Well, lo and behold, when I got back the results, I tested positive for 2 things. One, I tested positive for nickel, which I didn't know I was allergic to nickel, and 2, MI. So I finally had an answer. I was allergic to the synthetic preservative that I couldn't even pronounce, I had never heard of, And I didn't realize it was in everything. Everything. I got home and started to look at all my products. My shampoos, my lotions, my soaps, my body wash, my cleaning products that I touch with my hands. Literally everything had this stuff in it. And it just, everything clicked, you know. It was like an epiphany that after all these years, I was basically touching all these products and causing myself to get this hand eczema from these everyday household products that we all use. And, you know, of course I had never heard of MI. I said, what is this? I mean, it's in everything. It's even in baby wipes. And, you know, I had 2 small children. And, you know, I use baby wipes every day. It was in my shampoo. It's in cleaning wipes. It boggled my mind how many products have this in it. So I actually collected all the products that I found that had MI in it. They're common products that probably everyone uses. And, of course, I just threw them away. And that's when things turned for the better, because I finally had an answer. So it was just so frustrating to know that this stuff is in everything. And the difficult part was then to find replacements for those products without the MI. And from what I've read, they really started using the synthetic preservative, you know, more right about the time I started getting hand eczema in the early 2000s. So it all lined up and made sense. I went on a quest. I had to find products that didn't have MI in it, and it's very difficult. And it still is difficult to this day because it's still used in many products. And the hard thing is that it's in a lot of cleaning products, and a lot of those cleaning products don't have the ingredients listed. So when I'm at the store, you know, I'm trying to find products without MI, and it's like a wild goose chase because I'm going on my phone, trying to go to the websites of these companies and trying to find the ingredient list, and they make it so difficult to find it. Luckily, there is a new law that just passed, at least in California, where cleaning products have to start listing ingredients on the product labels, which is great because I've had to deal with that for a long time, and it's just so frustrating. And there's still some products that I specifically have to go to different stores to get because, I mean, like for example, shampoos. Like 90% of shampoos have MI in it. You'd be surprised if you look. Even, it doesn't matter if it's high-end or cheap shampoos. You know, you can buy the most expensive shampoo from a salon and it could have MI in it. Also, there's deceiving labels. It could say natural, but that doesn't mean anything because it could still have MI in it. MI is not natural. It's a synthetic preservative. So, for example, I'm going to give you one example. Greenworks cleaning, disinfecting wipes. Now, I always thought that, you know, buying something that says that it's natural or green would always be better. I've been eating organically for many years, and I'm not perfect, of course, and I don't buy 100% organic, but for the main items like meat, produce, eggs, milk, I try to buy 100% organic. So I always try to opt for the natural choice. For example, the Greenworks wipes has MI in it, although the regular Clorox wipes don't. So you always have to research and make sure because these chemical companies are so misleading. And I remember this was after I already knew that I had this MI allergy. I was cleaning with the Clorox, the Greenworks wipes, and right after my hands flared up immediately. And that was the first time that I directly correlated it, because I didn't know the Greenworks wipes had MI in it. There was no ingredient list. And then I went on to, it was my fault because I just assumed because it was green that it wouldn't, but sure enough, I went online and it had MI in it. And I had a bad flare-up after that. Many of the liquid soaps in public bathrooms may contain MI. So what I actually have to do is bring along a little bottle of MI-free hand soap in those situations, and because I don't want to risk it. And also, if you want a video just about MI-free products that I've discovered and used over the years, let me know too, because I can do that, because I know it's very difficult to navigate the stores and try to find these products. And so, you know, I've already gone through the vetting process of that. So if you want to see that, let me know. It is also frustrating because sometimes a flare-up will happen and I won't know what I touched or what I did to get the flare-up. For example, I didn't have a flare-up for months and months and months because, you know, now that I know that it's from the MI allergy, I avoid touching anything with that or using any products with that. Well, sometimes you can't help it, but you come in contact with it unknowingly. And that's what happened recently. And I recently had a flare-up, and I don't know where. It's in the healing phase right now. So I think that's what triggered me to finally sit down and make this video, because I want others to know that this could be a possibility if you have a similar reaction on your hands. It could be an MI allergy. If there's others out there, please comment below and let me know your story, if this is something that has affected you too, and if you have a possible MI allergy, because I think there's a lot more people out there who do, but just haven't realized the root of their problems. They might see these rashes on their hands and, you know, have no idea that the household products they're touching has MI in it. Another time that I had a really bad eczema outbreak, and it was the one time that it wasn't on my hands, was back when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I actually had a really bad eczema all over my belly and my chest, and it really scared me because I was pregnant at the time, and I thought perhaps maybe it was from like belly, you know, you use like belly butter for stretch marks or something, but the products I had, when I looked back on the ingredients, because at the time I didn't know about my MI allergy, it didn't have MI in it. What I finally realized was that the eczema outbreak was from the ultrasound gel. And it's one of those things, is like, how would you know this? I had my ultrasound and they used that gel, and some of those gels contain MI. So I actually had an outbreak all over my stomach. It's very scary too when you're pregnant, because, you know, you can't really take any medications or put any ointments that have, you know, steroids or anything. A while ago I was having some stomach issues, and if you want another video on stomach issues that may or not be related to eczema and gluten, which is another sensitivity that I discovered that I may have recently, and I'm still working through that. If you want me to talk about that in another video, let me know too. But I had to have a stomach ultrasound, and I actually had to jump through hoops to figure out if the ultrasound gel had MI in it. And the ultrasound technicians finally obtains the ingredient list, and luckily the ultrasound gel they used didn't. But you just have to be vigilant and ask questions, and otherwise, you know, you could have another eczema outbreak, and it's not fun. So I'm gonna wrap it up, but the good news is that I found out the root cause of my eczema. The bad news is they're still using MI in a plethora of products that we use every day, and many states don't have laws that require the ingredients to be listed on the product itself. The fact that they're using these harmful chemicals in our products, and even if it only causes a reaction in a small amount of people, I think it's probably larger than what we know, because not many people are talking about it. So I think that if more people open the dialogue about this and put pressure on our legislators to do something about this, because other countries have already banned MI in products, including Europe and I believe Canada. So, if they're banning it in products, then there's a health risk. There's an issue there. And I just want to add that there's been some advancements in eczema treatment as far as development of new medications to treat eczema, and I believe that there's a new injectable that treats eczema specifically, and there's also several topical medications, and one that I have recently tried. I've recently obtained a prescription for Eucrisa. It's a topical ointment. And I've tried Eucrisa when I first see the small bubbles forming on my palms. I'll put a little bit on, and I can say that perhaps it helps the initial breakout to heal a little faster, but it's definitely not a cure. But still, it's a positive step forward in eczema treatment. So if you've tried Eucrisa and it helps you, let me know down below, because I'm curious to hear that any stories about anyone who's used it. So thank you for listening to my MI allergy dyshidrotic eczema story today. And leave me comments below if you've been through or you're going through the same thing as me. And if you want to reach out, I'll put my social media links down below. If you want to hit me up on Twitter and we can talk about it. And if you're at all interested in baseball or the Dodgers, I'll also link my main channel, Dishing Up the Dodgers, below, and so you can subscribe over there. This is just my personal channel where I feel like I can put just random videos, or if you have any video suggestions you want to see from me, leave them down below. On this channel, I think I'm just leaving open. It's just that, I don't really have any subscribers over here, but if you want to see some fun videos like makeup related reviews, or like I said, like allergy focused videos, or just, my opinions on anything, let me know below. And thanks for watching, and talk to you later.